Let's talk about how wars are sold to us. It never starts with, hey, we're destabilizing a region for murky reasons. Instead, it's always a story of self-defense or a noble mission. We're told it's a necessary response to a sudden threat, like a bar fight that just got out of hand. This narrative is designed to make us feel like we're the good guys, fighting the bad guys. But global politics isn't a superhero movie. These aren't isolated events. They're the result of years of maneuvering and strategic interests. The official story is just the trailer. The real movie is a long, complicated epic of power. Language matters. Surgical strikes sound clean, collateral damage hides civilian deaths, and preemptive defense means attacking first. These terms sanitize violence and make it palatable to the public. So, when you hear about rising tensions, say, between Israel and Iran, pause before accepting the simple story. The narrative is likely one of imminent threat and necessary defense, but it's just the latest chapter in a very long book. To understand what's really happening, you have to question the premise and look past the headlines. The machinery of power is always working just out of sight. Don't buy the easy story, dig deeper. If this imminent threat routine sounds familiar, it's because it is. We've seen this playbook before, and the ending is rarely good. Remember Iraq in 2003? The story, Saddam had WMDs and was ready to use them. We now know those weapons never existed. The intelligence was cherry-picked and exaggerated, but the fear worked, making invasion seem necessary. The real motives, oil power, unfinished business, were too messy for primetime, so we got a horror story about mushroom clouds. The consequences? Still with us today. Libya in 2011 was sold as a humanitarian mission but quickly became regime change, leaving chaos in its wake. The Vietnam War escalated after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, an event misrepresented to justify conflict. Cold War interventions in places like Guatemala and Chile were about protecting corporate interests, not democracy. Time and again, a scary story masks a self-serving agenda. It's a playbook, and it works. Don't fall for the rerun. How do governments convince millions to support war? Fear. Fear overrides logic and makes us accept aggressive actions as necessary. First, they create a villain, someone demonized as irrational and evil. This dehumanization makes violence easier to justify. Next, they make the threat feel personal. They hate our freedoms. They could attack us at any moment. Slogans shrink the distance between a faraway conflict and your own home. The threat becomes a danger to your family, even if the evidence is thin. Finally, the narrative is tightly controlled. Dissent is labeled unpatriotic, history is erased, and only scary images are shown. We're not told about the West's role in creating today's animosities or the human cost of sanctions. Instead, we get missile tests and angry crowds. By keeping the story simple and fear-soaked, governments steer public opinion toward war. Fear is the fuel, and it's always in ready supply. Question the fear, demand the full story. Governments need a megaphone to spread fear, and that's where the media comes in. It's not a grand conspiracy, it's about drama ratings and simplicity. A looming war with a clear villain is great for business. News outlets rely on official sources, often repeating government talking points without real scrutiny. This creates an echo chamber where the official line is amplified and dissent is sidelined. Dramatic visuals, countdown clocks, maps, military footage turn foreign policy into a spectator sport. Viewers are encouraged to pick a side, not question the game. The government feeds a scary story to the media blasts it out, the public gets scared, and the government claims a mandate. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Journalism that challenges the narrative is pushed to the margins. The loudest megaphone wins, and it's almost always the one selling war. Don't just watch the show, ask who's writing the script. Demand journalism that questions, not just echoes. The stakes are too high for lazy storytelling. Look for the voices that dig deeper. Alliances are sold as friendships, but they're really about power and mutual benefit. The US-Israel relationship is a prime example, framed as shared values but driven by strategic interests. For the US, Israel is a powerful proxy in a vital region, projecting American power without deploying troops. In return for billions in military aid, America gets a reliable partner in the Middle East. It's not about democracy, it's about dominance and control of resources. This model isn't unique. Throughout history, alliances have been about leverage, not affection. During the Cold War, the US supported dictatorships simply because they were anti-communist. These weren't true allies, they were assets on a chessboard. The US can champion democracy while arming authoritarian regimes, because real priorities are strategic, not moral. The rhetoric is for public consumption. The actions are about power. So when leaders talk about steadfast allies, ask, what's the real deal? Behind the friendship, there's always a calculation. Don't be fooled by the love story. How are enemies chosen? It's not just about threats, it's about old colonial ideas and racism. There's a deep-rooted assumption about which countries are civilized and which are dangerous. The good guys usually look like us. The bad guys are often in the global south. This is the legacy of colonialism, now dressed up with terms like developing nations and rogue states. When countries in the Middle East or Africa assert themselves, it's framed as a threat to stability, code for Western interests. Our ambition is seen as righteous, theirs as dangerous. This bias shapes who is seen as a victim and who is a target. Media coverage reflects this. European victims get empathy, others become statistics. It's easier to justify violence against those deemed less human. Now, China is cast as the new existential threat, with old stereotypes repackaged for a new Cold War. The narrative makes massive military spending and confrontation seem inevitable. It's the same script, just with a new villain. Recognize the pattern, and question it. We're stuck in a cycle of fear and intervention driven by a cynical playbook. The cost is staggering. Devastation abroad, trillions wasted, and democracy eroded at home. Constant war justifies secrecy, surveillance, and unchecked power. Fear projected outward eventually poisons our own society. Breaking the cycle starts with questioning the official story. Meet every call to war with skepticism. Who benefits? What's the history? Is violence the only answer? Demand more from media, context, dissent, and real accountability? Imagine a world built on justice, equality, and cooperation, not domination. This isn't utopian. It's necessary for survival on a shared planet. The first step is to see the playbook for what it is and refuse to be manipulated by fear. Demand diplomacy and peace, not endless war. We've seen this show before. It's time to change the channel.